And we are back with the final four teams here in the League of Champions Dynasty League. Let's get right into it, Chris. At number four, let's go with JCap here at number four. Let's take a look at his team. We've got Jalen Hurts, Pacheco at running back, Cam Akers. See what happens with him, man. I think he's going to be a huge story this offseason. T. Higgins, Amon-Ra, Devontae Smith, TJ Hawkinson. Boy, was he great with Minnesota. We got Olave, Treylon Burks, George Pickens, Deshaun Watson at Superflex. Sitting here on the bench, we've got Mac Jones, we've got Eli Mitchell, Javonte Williams worth a look. Elijah Moore, Rondale Moore. We'll see what happens with him as well. Alec Pierce. We'll see what happens in his second season. Taxi Squad's got nothing except for Okonkwo. I think he's an interesting play this year. He's got 111, 206, 208, so potentially valuable draft pieces as well. I think we've entered a brand new tier here, Chris.
Is this not the quintessential JCap team? I mean, is it or isn't? I mean, this is when I think of a JCap team, this is what I picture. I mean, young, building around those wide receivers, major question marks at running back. He's got kind of these random picks here that may or may not be anything. This is just typical JCap. But again, it's a nice team. It's a nice looking team. I mean, I think this is a team that certainly looks on the way up, but it's certainly got its question marks and to get him into that upper echelon, right? Cam Akers, you mentioned Isaiah Pacheco, these second year wide receivers, Olave, Burks, Pickens. I mean, are these guys going to take that very next step? Mac Jones is a nice third QB. Javonte Williams, major rumblings that he may not be ready for the season and may miss quite a bit of time to start the season. I think that'd be a huge blow for JCap. So I mean, there's a lot of upside on this team. I really like it. The youth is great. But he needs these guys to take a step in order for him to start winning titles.
Yeah, he needs the guys to take a step forward and the guys that are there not to take the step back. Jameson Williams, another guy sitting here on the bench as well, another wide receiver, super young. I mean, I love this team. I love the build. I think win, lose, or draw this season. I think this team's going to be in great shape heading into 2024. The question is, Chris, about these running backs, right? Between Pacheco and Akers and Javonte Williams. I think between Akers and Pacheco, you came out of this season smelling as nicely as you possibly could have. But I think for as good as those guys were, the news on Javonte Williams is equally as bad. So if he can find a way to, rub a couple of these guys together to get something out of these running backs and, to get two guys, I think he's going to be in good shape. I think he's going to be there regardless. I think there's enough mix of upside and floor with this team to put himself in a good position. But man, I'd feel so much better if I had something of a running back that I can lean on. And all the old reliables, Chris, that, 111 used to be able to fetch you. I think the running backs are so split right now between the haves and the have-nots. I don't even know who I would target with 111. I mean, who's a running back that even if you spent 111, 206, and 208, Chris, who's a realistic name that you think you could get with that? Like a Ramondre Stevenson?
No, I think, I was just thinking here, that team that had Swift and Jacobs, can you give 111 and a second for Jacobs? I mean, I think I might get you there.
No, no way
I
possible.
think you're too high on Jacobs. I think you're too high. We've seen him in our drafts. He doesn't get the love that I mean, we take him every single time, but people don't love him. I think 111 gets you Swift.
Does it really? It's that bad with Swift?
Matt, we get him in the eighth round of our drafts like every time. It's crazy.
Not
I
that late.
mean,
I mean, I've given up. I gave up 104 for Swift in a draft that I did most recently. It was one of
yeah,
those, what do you call them,
yeah,
reversal drafts. And
yeah.
I
Clearly not a draft we did together because that would never happen.
yeah, right. You're a Swift lover as much as I am. Come on.
I mean, I'm just saying. Listen, you got to listen to the market. I think that would be the guy. That would be the team I would target. Is that Swift Jacobs team? I would try and get one of them, and see what it costs. I think there's a discussion to be had there. Is the point?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, that's the team obviously that you could build with. If I'm that team, though. I'm going to hold out for a little bit more. I think you just absolutely have to. Hey, Chris, let's get into our top three. And at number three, we're going to go to Electric Co. We've got Justin Herbert, Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, McLaurin, Mark Andrews, Christian Kirk, Miles Sanders, Alan Lazard, Kirk Cousins. Guys on the bench, we've got Brock Purdy. We mentioned him a little bit earlier. Antonio Gibson, Jarvis Landry. We'll be mentioning him till the day that he retires. Josh Palmer, I think, is going to be an interesting play depending on what happens out there in Charger land. Hunter Henry, Dawson Knox, Sky Moore as well. We'll see what the Chiefs do with him. Taxi Squad has John Mechie. I'm excited for him to come back, man. I think that's going to be a great comeback story. No picks really to speak of for this team. Very complete team here, Chris. I think the wild cards become, Christian Kirk, Miles Sanders, and Alan Lazard. I think their situations are very much in limbo with this team.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I would agree with all that. So, my notes here said very, very solid team, top to bottom, no real holes in a league that plays super deep. But listen, you've got some kind of aging vets, some question marks, like you said, Miles Sanders. Boy, I love Derek Carr going to New Orleans. If Jarvis Landry manages to stay there, and oh my God, what a fit! What a fit that would be. Jarvis Landry resurgence. I can't wait. We're gonna have 100% ownership by the time this offseason's over. But yeah, I mean, listen, I think this team is it's just really kind of solid. I think we'll see the two teams I have ahead of them, whether you agree or disagree. But I think these top three are kind of in a tier of their own. And I think all three are legitimate title contenders. I like Electric Company here. I like he's got Herbert Cousins. I think that's a great duo to have at quarterback. We'll see what happens with Purdy. I think he'd be a great QB3, but he may just end up being nothing. Again, I don't have much bad to say about this team. I think it's just, again, just really, really solid. I wish it had one more kind of super elite player, but I mean, you could say that about any team, really.
Yeah, I'd say that about pretty much every team that we had. It'd be nice to have super elite players on your team across the board.
Oh, I knew
Yeah,
I was going to regret that one.
I would say that, J Cap's team deserves to be mentioned with these top three teams as well. Just particularly from the upside. This team could end up, struggling, like I said, with those last three flex spots. But, I love Herbert. I love Kirk Cousins. I would say that this is a team that definitely underachieved in 2022, with Dalvin Cook kind of being up and down. He ended up having good numbers overall, but, Dalvin Cook owners know it was not always smooth sailing this year. Jonathan Taylor, we know that saga, Jerry Jeudy up and down. Same thing with Terry McLaurin. So I think we're looking for a little bit more stability out of this team. And I think he's going to get it. But we've got guys just kind of heading in different directions with this team, Chris. So I think I let this thing play out as long as possible, as long as I'm still contending. But if we found out week 10 that this team was selling Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, I wouldn't be shocked.
I think that's fair. I mean, I'm with you too. This is not a team you kind of tweak in March and April. This is a team you kind of ride, until probably October, honestly. I would just kind of stand pat, see what's what, and then kind of reevaluate there. If I decide I want to buy, I've got all my 2024 picks intact. So, yeah, this is a team I just kind of hang tight. As much as I want to suggest some moves, it's not that not this is not the team to make moves. Just sit tight, see what happens, and go from there.
All right. At number two, we are going with RIP Mamba, which means we've got Dark Side at number one. We've got Justin Fields. Boy, Chris, a lot of people loving Latavius Murray again heading into 2023, saying that he's going to be banging in that what's his name, Mark Ingram role for Sean Payton. Plus, we've got Javonte Williams questionable at this point. What an interesting piece that is. That's crazy. We've got Christian McCaffrey, DJ Chark, DJ Moore, Steph Diggs, Freiermuth, Pittman, Tyler Higbee. We'll see what happens with him. He desperately wants Matthew Stafford back. We've got Aaron Rodgers might be the piece here that makes or breaks this team. Then we've got Tony Pollard. Alexander Madison's an interesting piece, I think, this year. Khalil Herbert, we'll see what they do with him out there in Chi-Town. Calvin Ridley. I'm loving Calvin Ridley, man. A lot of people are too, unfortunately. Haven't been able to get the value we'd like to in drafts on Ridley, but he's a guy that I'm going to start to maybe get a little bit more aggressive with in drafts this offseason. Injured reserve, Zach Ertz and Kyler Murray. Gotta love that. James Cook sitting here on taxi squad. He's got 110, 210, 211, 209 as well. There's some pieces here, Chris. I like this team. I think it's got a great mix of floor and ceiling. I think it's going to be right there at the end. I don't see how this thing goes wrong.
Yeah, I like this team a lot, Matt. I looked at this team and I was ready to put them more towards the middle of the pack, and then I saw, Calvin Ridley, Zach Ertz, Kyler Murray, and it just kind of rounds this team out. In my notes, I literally wrote Calvin Ridley X factor on this team. You plug Calvin Ridley into this lineup, for KJ Osborne or Tyler Higbee, and all of a sudden, and if he's productive, I mean, you have a complete lineup with a lot of upside here. McCaffrey, Justin Fields. I mean, those two guys alone can score, 70 points on any given week. I mean, it's insane. So, plus you've got quality players in DJ Moore, Steph Diggs, Michael Pittman. I think will be fine with an upgrade at quarterback in Indy. I mean, it's just a really, really good team. I think we're going to get another very good year out of Tony Pollard. I just think this is a very good team. I don't see really any holes in it. Just quality, top to bottom.
Yeah, after listening to this show, I wonder if this guy says, "Hey, I've got 110 and 209." I go to that Swift Jacobs owner and say, "Hey, do you like this package a little bit better than what you guys were talking about with I think that was the 111 and like 206, something like that." So I'd go over there and offer that. I'd love to just shore up running back a little bit. Like I said, you love Pollard, love McCaffrey. We doted on Latavius Murray, but I think that looks a lot better with a guy like Jacobs in there, obviously. It gives a little bit more depth, and I don't think it kills you by giving up those draft picks either. So those are some things that I would consider. I think this team's got a good enough amount of depth, the ceiling, the floor. It's a really good team, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to maybe get one more piece if you can. With those picks you have, it's a nice luxury there to have, 3 seconds, even though they're late. It's 3 seconds and a late first. I think you can make some hay there, shore up the roster a little bit with those pieces if you want, or just make the draft picks and hope the young guys accrue value for you.
All right, Chris, let's get to that number one team. We've got Dark Side Emperors here. Let's see what he's got. We've got Mahomes, we've got Dobbins, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Darren Waller, and Njoku, Mike Thomas. Please come back, my boy. Lamar Jackson sitting here at Superflex. We got Kenny Pickett, Jerick McKinnon. Man, is he going to be a thing again this year? It'd be interesting to see what happens there. Lenny Fournette, we'll see where he ends up. Samaje Perine maybe thrown into a starting role with all of Mixon's issues that we've talked about. What else do we have down here, Chris? Nothing else going on. No picks to speak of this year. He's got his full complement next year. Not an overly deep team here, Chris. And there may be a hole or two. But boy, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase in the same lineup with Patty Mahomes, you're going to have a chance to win some ball games.
Yeah, I mean, this team to me, with the top end talent that he has, I almost don't care that he has 3 to 4 holes in his lineup and no depth. I mean, Mahomes, Jefferson, Chase, Lamar Jackson, AJ Brown, like it's insane the top end talent he has here that I just couldn't reasonably put anyone else at number one. I mean, he's going to find production somewhere for his RB2 spot, whether that's Jerick McKinnon, whether Fournette lands somewhere. He's going to find production at one of his last couple flex spots. He's going to find it through the season. Like I'm not worried about that. Maybe it's even, Samaje Perine for a game or two. It's going to work out because his top end talent is going to carry him so hard that it almost doesn't matter who he plays in those other spots. It's just such an uphill battle week to week, having to go against Lamar, Mahomes, Jefferson, Chase, and AJ Brown. Not to mention J.K. Dobbins, who I think is going to be just fine there in Baltimore if he stays healthy. Just an insanely top heavy team. But in a league that plays this deep, I don't care. There's just so many points here week in, week out that it's just going to be so tough to beat.
Yeah, I don't even know if in a startup right now you could find the pieces to trade to get Mahomes, who's 101 or 102, Justin Jefferson, who's, in the 107 conversation, Chase 107, 108 conversation, AJ Brown top 15 guy, Lamar Jackson a top 15, 16 guy. Um, I mean, that's pretty much selling off your entire draft. So he's got pieces beyond that as well. Mike Thomas is going to be a huge thing, and Darren Waller. It's going to be come down to those two guys, I think, to whether this team really has enough to get through the season. Um, Cordero Patterson, see if he can hang on a little bit longer, and give some production. But boy, he needs something from these guys, I think.
Yeah, I one thing I was considering here as I was looking through this team, and you're not going to like it. I know you're not, but maybe you trade off Kenny Pickett for some position players. I mean, I don't like giving up that QB3, but you're kind of hamstrung here in terms of adding players. Um, you may not get anything out of your bench. You may just be waiver wire, scouring the waiver wire week in, week out, trying to fill those holes in your lineup. But to me, I don't even think I'd do that. I just hang on to that third QB and, figure it out on the waiver wire with the holes I have.
I might even go the other way and trade Lamar Jackson. See if I can get,
Oh,
we're
please.
for the ninth year in a row, we're going to suggest, Cousins plus two pieces, that it could really go into the starting lineup. I mean, you just said it could be scouring the waiver wire all year long. I mean, imagine, wasting years with these guys in tow because you're scouring the waiver wire. Just at some point, it might be okay to tighten things up.
I was gonna scold you if you said you could just go with Kenny Pickett as your
No,
as your guy
no,
because
no, no,
you
no.
love you
I
love Kenny
don't.
Pickett more
I
than anybody.
I don't love Kenny Pickett. We have him in one league and we have zero quarterbacks in that league. So I thought it would okay if we started him a game. And you took that as an unconditional love, but it is what it is. All right, let's check it out, Chris. 1 through 12. We got Dark Side, Mamba, Electric Company, JCap Chewy, Romo the Man, Champ, RMG, Adam Too Old, B Fledig, Dewald, and Lucky Charms rounding out our 1 through 12. So man, feels good to be back, Chris. First league back in 2023. Glad you guys were along for the journey. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button so you're always up to date when we post new shows. We look forward to hearing from you guys as the season wears on. Have a great night and good luck this season.